Welcome back to the further adventures of the monad. After a quick detour into what constitutes a plane of matter and what constitutes a world, I wish now to return, as promised, to fathom how we, as quaternary monads, exist on the 43rd plane, yet we currently function on planes 47 to planes 49. I have already mentioned that monads contain immense amounts of energy. This energy comes from the antiverse and is continually supplied to us from there. Now, I'm going to ask you to get your head around something quite esoteric in a metaphorical sense. A monad is too energetic to exist anywhere else but on the first plane of matter. Yet we have 48 planes of matter below this first plane. How can something that is too energetic to leave its natural habitat leave it and form new planes? This is achieved by individual primary atoms clustering into a unit of 49 monads, and this creates another atom, a two-atom that is larger, denser, and less energetic than the primary atom. These two atoms can form another cluster of 49 atoms, and this results in another plane of matter coming into existence, plane 3. Carrying on this clustering results in a 49 atom at the bottom of this material ladder that has 1.35 times 10 to the 81 individual monads contained within its structure. So, at the very bottom of the planes of matter, you have a monad that is locked up in a very large cluster, yet still on the first plane of matter. That is challenging to grasp, but important to model in your mind because of what I'm about to talk about next. A monad is capable of being in two places at once. Quantum theorists and experimental physicists have come to this conclusion as well. They are, of course, dealing with much larger structures than a 49 atom, let alone a monad, but the underlying theory is the same. When we say that after its evolution through tertiary matter, the monad transforms into quaternary matter at the third outpouring by the first logos, where does this happen? It happens on plane 43. This is the root plane of the cosmic physical kingdom, but never enters it. Of course, it can't. It is a higher plane. What I am getting at is that a monad functioning here is not able to enter the 6 planes of matter below directly. If this is the case, how is the monad to continue its evolution? It may be on the path to self-consciousness, but it starts off being unconscious of itself. After all, it has just entered the mineral kingdom, and clearly there is a long way to go from here. The waking up process requires a home for the monad to occupy, but it has to be a virtual home. It can't be there directly, but it can focus its consciousness, what there is of it to start with, into a structure called a permanent atom. Is this any different to not really being there on the 43rd plane as well? Not really, but somehow we tend to model the quaternary monad as being embedded in the 43 atom and then not being present in the planes below this one. The salient point to grasp is that the monad is effectively present in 3 places at once: the first plane, the 43rd plane, and whatever plane it happens to be evolving through in the 6 kingdoms that comprise the cosmic physical kingdom. There are also structures called permanent molecules. I describe the similarities and difference between permanent atoms and molecules shortly. What is this permanent atom/molecule actually composed of? Well, ultimately of primary atoms. But each cluster of these plane 49 atoms is controlled by one tertiary monad. we now have a very special unit of matter, because this unit does not dissolve between incarnations. Why is this important? In previous presentations, I have mentioned that our envelopes of incarnation, the physical etheric, the emotional, and the mental, all dissolve after each incarnation. These envelopes send their component parts into the general pool of matter on that plane for reuse. Whatever those envelopes were doing, and I will get to that eventually, if they are dissolved, isn't all that was experienced and learnt lost. It would be if it was not for these permanent atoms and permanent molecules, because tertiary matter has a memory. These permanent structures, which are essentially tertiary matter, store our memories. This is where memories of your past lives are stored. This is where all your complexes and neuroses are stored. This is what is called by psychologists your subconscious. What these memories are doing here and not residing somewhere else in your series of envelopes is something that I will deal with in due course. For the time being, I just wish to reiterate that your permanent atoms and molecules are tertiary matter that does not dissolve, and for a very good reason. They are your memory of everything you have experienced since you migrated into quaternary matter. Yes, this does mean that your memories of your passage through the mineral, plant, and animal kingdom are all stored here as well. This is a lot of data, and these structures must be phenomenal in their construction and function. Where have we got so far? We have a quaternary monad sitting in a permanent atom on the 43rd plane. There are 6 planes of matter below it. Each plane has a permanent atom on it and is ready to function as a temporary home for our evolving monad. Wait a minute. I mentioned that there were permanent molecules as well as permanent atoms. Where are they? This is where we come to the most important of structures in our passage through the cosmic physical kingdom. We now need to discuss the triad. What is this, and how is it composed? The triad is a physical structure that is constructed by devas that allow a quaternary monad to function in an environment where otherwise it would not be able to go. So what exactly is a triad composed of? Well, as it says on the tin, a triad is a permanent triplet of evolutionary atoms. What do we mean by evolutionary matter? Tertiary matter, of course. This structure accompanies a monad through its entire evolution from the mineral kingdom to the 6th kingdom of nature. Who builds this triad structure? The devas. Who else? As the name implies, the triad is composed of 3 units. The first triad consists of a mental molecule, 47,4, an emotional atom, 48,1, and a physical atom, 49,1. This is where you see the appearance of the permanent molecule. At the top of each plane of matter, you have an atomic structure. The subsequent 6 subplanes are molecular. Each subunit of the triad comprises 3 separate envelopes. Tertiary matter again. This means you are going to have 9 subunits in total. This implies that 2 of the 6 planes of matter have to have permanent structures on them, but they can't be atomic, as atomic structures can only exist at the top of a plane of matter. This means that there has to be a permanent structure to store our memories that are molecular, not atomic. That is why you have the mental molecule 47,4. On the second triad, you have the spiritual molecule 45,4, the unity atom 46,1, and the mental atom 47,1. Finally, we come to the third triad. This consists of the lower monadic permanent molecule 43,4, the divine permanent atom 44,1, and the spiritual atom 45,1. Evolution in our solar system is evolution through the triads. It is important to note that the monad activates its triad from below, not above. We have to climb this ladder. We may get help, but every step of the way is taken by us. How the triad units relate to one another and how they evolve through the four kingdoms of nature is going to be the topic of my next presentation. Thank you.